Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and boy have I got a video for you today. It's because one of my favorite vehicles in the game, if not my favorite vehicle in the game, the Mouse, has just set an all-time damage record with angrybogyo playing in this tier 10 German super heavy. And when I say super heavy, I'm not mincing my words there. This is the heaviest vehicle in the game. It is weighing nearly 190 tons before you put equipment on it. So if you were to use something funky like a spool liner, which I wouldn't ever recommend on the Mouse, you could be getting close to 190 tons of just raw German passion driving around the battlefield. And in today's replay, angrybogyo is going to do more damage than anyone has ever done before, and at least uploaded it onto the What Record website. So sit back, relax, you know, you've got enough time, as the Mouse is definitely not the fastest of vehicles. Although, when you use fancy equipment like angrybogyo and put on a Bond turbo, and probably no better tank in the game to put a Bond turbo on than the Mouse, then this vehicle suddenly isn't so slow. The Mouse for many years has been such a meme inside World of Tanks, right? For the first, should we say, 10 years of the Mouse. It was a powerful tank, but only kind of a powerful tank in a nice matchup like this. Originally, the Mouse would have been able to meet tier 6 tanks, but that's a long time ago, and the matchmaker is very different these days. The Mouse, just one of those vehicles, this kind of like friendly fellow, or maybe not so friendly to certain vehicles, just driving around the battlefield, just providing big old amounts of hit points to the enemy team usually. It drove at 20 kilometers an hour max, incredibly slow, not a good power to weight ratio, no field mods to be able to improve its ground resistances. But since those days, there are so many aspects to the game that have changed. The Mouse is now no longer kind of like that slow lumbering meme. It is now actually pretty much about 50% faster than it used to be. So the base speed of 20 can go up to 24 if you use a regular turbo, 25 if you use a bounty turbo, or 26 if you're like angrybogyo and you use a Bond turbo. On top of that, there are now field mods in the game that increase the top speed limit of the Mouse by 2 kilometers an hour, so that 26 now becomes 28. Then you can improve the ground resistances of this vehicle through field mods, through the second field mod, which further increases the power, well, it doesn't increase the power to weight ratio, but it improves the ground resistances by 7%, making your vehicle much more mobile. And on top of that, now we have the latest improvement to the Mouse, which is the engineer's skill on the driver, meaning that the Mouse can go at 29 kilometers an hour. So this vehicle, literally 45% faster than it used to be back in the day. And so now the Mouse can access positions like angrybogyo is going into, so, albeit still at a risk. If there were any faster heavies, more aggressive heavies on the enemy team like the can opener and they pushed, then angrybogyo would have been in a rather tricky situation. But because they didn't, they've taken the center of the map with those new speed capabilities. But when I say new, I mean it's over a year since we even had engineer go into the game now, as time seems to be just absolutely whizzing by. But relatively new, when you think that this was the first tier 10 heavy along with the IS-7 on the Russian server before the American tanks were even added into the game. Although, to be fair, not many of you out there, unless I've got some lovely Ukrainian viewers who are now playing on the European server, would have been back there in 2010 when, before the T-30 was the top tier American heavy, right? So the Mouse, it's gone through these periods of change, you know, periods of where we had the game being very slow for this vehicle, to now being periods where this tank is just not even slow for a tier 10 heavy. I mean, don't get me wrong, the vehicle is undoubtedly still slow for a tier 10 heavy. It's the slowest tier 10 heavy, but just 29 kilometers an hour when you set this vehicle up as aggressively as you can, it's no longer bad, is what I'm suggesting. And when you've got all of the strengths of the Mouse with 260 millimeters of frontal turret armor, 210 millimeters of angled side armor, 200 millimeters of frontal hull, and 185 on the side, this thing it's just no longer a meme. If any of you were playing World of Tanks probably about 5 years ago, you might remember a period where the Mouse actually became completely overpowered. Wargaming fulfilled every big fat German's fantasy, and I don't mean like ein großer Deutschlander. I'm talking about big tanks, okay? people who love big German tanks inside the game, okay? Ein großer deutscher Panzer, yeah? Like the mouse, correct? They had an absolute field day when Wargaming buffed the rate of fire of the mouse up to an insane level. They boosted its DPM to, I think, 10% better than what it is now at the 2200. And so for a period, the mouse was actually the best heavy tank in the game. I'm sure there'll be replays on the channel that you can go and dip into. I absolutely love this tank, and if I could feature this vehicle every week, I would with epic games. But games like angrybogyo's don't come along all of the time, right? They don't come along all of the time, as this is a world record damage. And there's just something so beautiful about seeing a mouse just absolutely clap the living daylights out of a can opener there, managing to spank off 8,000 damage and destroy arguably the best tier 10 tech tree heavy tank. But not in this battle, that's for sure. And this is just one of those magical games of World of Tanks, ladies and gents. Just a magical game of World of Tanks where angrybogyo is the wall, right? They are just the wall. They're sitting there, they're keeping their armor angled. Perfect armor angling here between your opponents. If you have one on the left, one on the right, stick your armor in the middle, and then it'll be effective against both opponents. Just whatever you do, try to make sure that you're not sticking your turret at your opponents flat for as long as you possibly can, and don't ever give them a flat shot on your side armor or on your vehicle's lower plate. So angrybogyo, even though they've done 9,500 damage in the first 7 minutes of this game, and they've picked up 3 kills, this game is still completely neck and neck. Although we do have to remember that because most of the vehicles in the woods have been outside angrybogyo's render distance, we don't exactly know how many hit points they're on. For the enemy team, you'd forgive them for feeling confident in this situation. We've just messed up the woods. We've got this game, right, guys? Let's push. Everyone across the middle, then we can go hull down using our gun depression on the ridgeline and be able to just dominate the rest of the vehicles that have, albeit successfully, managed to hold off the western flank, but not managed to conquer it, right? So vehicles like the FV4202 bombing it across, going and finding that ridgeline, and now just bashing their head against the absolute wall that is angrybogyo playing in this tier 10 German super heavy, right? And the mouse, it just feels so good for situations like this. And for every game that you get into when you play the mouse where everything goes perfectly, all of the others, you know, they're not great. But still, you do feel like you're just this different kind of vehicle making push plays, tanking for your allies, getting them all into the game, and just being that German wall that can just have a real good impact on the battle. And it's one of the reasons why the mouse actually has the best win ratio, one of the best win ratio differences of any of the tier 10 heavies. But can you believe this game? Even with 10,500 damage, angrybogyo's team is still down by 3 vehicles, and I think angrybogyo realizes this. They have to get forwards, angle their armor for the 705A, angle their armor for the Kilana. They decide to receive the Kilana. The Kilana actually totally messes up and can't turn into a wall anymore. Angrybogyo overmatches the top of the tier 8 Polish tank destroyer and then turns their attention towards the full health heavy. Now, I've rammed a mouse to death in my E50M, as many of you will know, but that 257, that was very ambitious. You know what I'm quite impressed about? The 257 actually still managed to do 170 damage to angrybogyo's tank. Maybe angrybogyo not using controlled impact on this vehicle. Mouse, unironically, a great vehicle to use controlled impact on, because when you get into close quarters combat and you do those kind of like micro shunts against your opponents, with controlled impact you can seriously amplify that kind of damage. And you know, with the Bond turbo on this vehicle, with the correct field mod, and also engineer, driving along at 29 kilometers an hour, as we can see angrybogyo achieving, this vehicle can do some substantial damage against slow-moving targets or vehicles that just can't avoid it because of close quarters combat. So 12,000 damage now and 5 kills. Just how preposterous is this? If you rewind the video, you'll see that that's pretty much half of the enemy's hit points across the entire team right from the beginning. But now, what happens when the wall moves? The wall now becomes some kind of battle bunker up on top of the hill. Well, that's exactly what we're going to see. With the FV4202 shut down, the CS59 shut down, angrybogyo now on 7 kills. And they are facilitating a flanking maneuver of epic proportions, and no more epic than the 190-ton tank on the hill raining death upon you, right? The K91 PT, now emboldened by the fact that there is this gigantic German usual pinata, or in this case, just this battle bunker up on the hill, now can be able to commit. And this is where just, I can only imagine angrybogyo must be kind of like pinching themselves and saying, is this real life right now? Or am I dreaming? Have I just had the mother of all mouse games, just slowly, casually blitzing my way through the enemy team, just grinding them into submission? And even now the 705A only wants to shoot the mouse and doesn't want to shoot the T28 prototype. And boom, baby, 12,600 damage. But angrybogyo isn't done. Catches the UDES, probably aiming for somebody who's coming up on the ridgeline. Or maybe even just decided, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with bludgeoning my face against this German wall. And just leads on to the inevitable devouring of that lower tier tank. We can see angrybogyo with the mouse there zooming in and out. Yeah, dude. I mean, 13,000 damage. This has got to feel good. The T103 turns their attention for the T103 on their team. And that means that angrybogyo can also pick up a 9th kill for what is just like an actual dream game for the mouse. This is every ein großer Deutschlander Panzer, yes, fantasy, correct? The ultimate German super heavy Panzer fantasy here, boys and girls. 13,500 damage and 9 kills for the mouse. What more can you want in World of Tanks? So unsurprisingly, an ace tanker here for 1,781 base experience. Do you know what? You would have actually still got an ace tanker even with probably about a third less than that. Angrybogyo, madness. The mother of all high caliber medals, as this is the most damage that anyone's dealt and uploaded onto the What Record website. 13,500 in the mouse. A Radley Walters medal for those 9 kills. A cool headed medal for ricocheting 10 shells. And that's usually only a medal that you can get at low tier, where some little pup tank has fired at you, or an incompetent Tessac on the enemy team. There was no incompetent Tessac on the enemy team. This was just raw German power, creating the mother of all steel wall medals with 8,600 damage blocked. And the only thing that I didn't like about this game was just 168,000 credits spent. But you know what? That still means that angrybogyo actually makes credits, 90,000 credits, if you take into account the fact that they were using a credit booster. Why not, right? Why not, right? As this will be more damage than 99.9999999% of World of Tanks players ever managed to get in hundreds of thousands of battles. And for it to be in the one, the only, the mouse just makes it oh so much sweeter. So, angrybogyo, congratulations to you on just this super heavy German fantasy, an absolute dream of a game, and thank you so much for uploading it onto the What Record website to share with the community. I'm a very simple man, and if I see a mouse having an epic game, makes me very happy. And I hope it made all of you out there on YouTube happy today as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below whether you like a good mouse game as much as me, or is it a tank that really just doesn't do anything for you, and why? And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Friday, it's time for the final summer token drops. So after today, please make sure that if you've collected any of the tokens from my Twitch stream over the last 6 weeks, that you spend them. Otherwise, I believe they're going to disappear in a week, and I wouldn't want you to lose all of that hard-gained work that you had to suffer through watching me, right? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.